Hello, my rockstar friends, my peeps who love history and stories of the extraordinary people, places, and things of our world. In part 1, I began with the strange and obscure history of Sloan's Lake. I will be bringing you a very haunting story of when I spent the night near the lake shore and helping someone with their very haunted house in that neighborhood. But first, as we take a walk, I am in Edgewater, across Sheridan Boulevard, from Sloan's Lake, where back in the 1890s, a woman bought most of the area here and started her own business. But it goes deeper than that. A dove who wanted to be a princess of the nation's people, yet she was of German descent with blonde hair and pale skin. In 1888, Anna Clara Brown was born to a German mother and father into the bottoms of Denver, from Jackson, Michigan. At 16, Anna and her sister Laura were placed in a reform school for a year after appearing in a newspaper article that they were leading an abandoned life. Anna didn't reform. She made her way to Market Street, the red light district of Denver, and married an operative brothel man named Charles Capps, who was involved in a lover of the sister of Richard DeMatty, who took the life of one of the victims in a criminal case in Denver. Capps saw the body and was a witness in the trial. This story in a video coming soon. Anna's relationship with Capps did not last long. Many madams of the night moved often to where the money was richer and to cities. And Anna traveled to Los Angeles, California, to the Crib District, sitting in a window advertising herself as a soiled dove. Men would gawk at her and others and pick their choice. In a place she referred to as the Ballerino Alley, by Bartolo Ballerino, landlord of the alley. She had to endure 3 shifts a day, share her profits, and pay for the room. Ballerino's wife was suing for a divorce for lack of companionship. So to hide money, he had Anna collect money from the girls. They would pay her more than they would pay Ballerino. In cities, the red light districts didn't last very long, and soon the girls would have to move. Morality squads would come through and shut the districts down. But Anna saved her money and heard of a new pop-up in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. She bought property for $2,000 and ran her own business for a few years. Then, finding her way back to Colorado. Here to Edgewater, buying this property and a plot in Wheat Ridge. Across the street, the Manhattan Beach Amusement Park was up and running in 1908 to divide the family from the brothels and saloons. A tall wooden fence was built as the family folk to cross the street was burdened by the many drunkards and saloon girls crowding the way. Anna ran her business and saved her money. In 1914, as the then Luna Park was burnt to the ground, she became a poultry farmer that only lasted briefly. After the Luna Amusement Park burnt to the ground, Edgewater became a town with boardwalks, city water and sanitation, opening a post office, a school, and a few stores. The city set to fix the town that often flooded, known for its muddiness, saloons, gambling, and brothels, always to be known for its seedy history, but becoming known for families living in little bungalow houses on tiny streets. She speaks of stories in a setting of documents in her own handwriting, of broken language, traveling to Utah to work with a suitcase and trunk, staying in a boarding house for $1.50 a day, for a bath, dinner, and a bed. But she speaks of a man breaking into her window, coming up a ladder, covered in soot, whipped and beaten. She recalls in her documents calling the police But in the end, she had to pay $50 to pay for all the damages. She escaped back to Denver and so begins her journey to reinvent herself. After being trafficked into slavery in the LA red light district, sold to the gang, a madam named Mary Smith with bodyguards, locked in a closet with no windows and forced to pleasure 8 to 10 men a day. Sad tales where she finally escaped back to Denver, but her past follows her, possibly stricken with syphilis. As she complains of her side paralyzed, dragging a foot, and her hand numbed. She also spoke of being paranoid, and she began to write her story as to coincide with a man named Richens Lacey Wooten, or Uncle Dick Wooten as he was known. And she speaks to historian Leroy Haffen about the then famous Wooten family and fur trapper, trader, and guide, writing him into her new life story, detailing that her letters to her family are stolen from the post office and all her belongings taken by the gangs. Therefore, she had nothing left of her life. Rewriting her family history, fighting with her older sister, and stating that her sister had drowned and nephew was put in an orphanage when she didn't get along with them anymore. Changing her name to Nukasi Mayoni, Jahan's son, Bo Wooten. The Wooten family grandmother was 5 years old and remembers Nukasi, as she was now named, pertaining to her Indian princess persona, to having played with Nukasi's moccasins, but she had no braids, known to have long blonde hair that she would dye black. Wanting to be part of the famous Wooten family for the time, to be known as one of Dick Wooten's brides, recreating her own fantasy world where she became deranged, afraid of what was happening all around her. In September of 1930, she bought her gravestone and had it fashioned to her new life as a Native American princess, 12 years before her death. She was sued by a man named Warwick Miller, who had forgotten he had sold the plots. He had been paying payments on a plot next to his father's grave. She gave up the plot to him because she didn't have the money for the lawsuit. This plot not the one she had initially wanted. Her mother lies next to her in an unmarked grave. November 1st, 1941, she was found in her boarding house room a few blocks away where she had worked as a soiled dove in Denver as a teenager. Her body given to the Colorado Anatomic Board to be dissected by medical students. January 23, 1942, she was laid to rest here, in this spot. In the end, a woman born into obscurity, but somehow made a whole new identity, writing her story to be told of her past, and one she made that could go down into history. A beautiful gravestone that shall last many moons to come for a woman who only wanted to be a beautiful Indian princess. Thank you for watching and listening to my story of Anna Clara Williams and Nukasi Mayoni Yaham, son Bo Wooten. What a dynamic story and life to be remembered, a story to never forget. I will link below a podcast from Extraordinary Cemetery with the full story from Nukasi's documented life story and more information on researching her life. Please check out the podcast with other episodes. They have many rather interesting stories to be told. Stay tuned for part 3, where I bring you a deep, dark secret and my haunting story of Sloan's Lake from 1991. Please like, subscribe, and share. Helps me on our journey of my tales from beyond.